Hi, I'm Paul. Welcome to my messy workshop. If you do much work on a table saw and you're into jigs for a table saw, you probably know what this is. This is a jig to cut splines in a frame or in a box. And it's made to fit over the rip fence of the saw. Every one I've ever seen built, this measurement right here is critical, as is this piece here, which sets a distance across that rip fence. Today we're going to build one that isn't quite so hard to build, and those measurements aren't so critical. So stick around and I'll get this thing started. Like I said, every one of those jigs that I've seen made or tried to make myself before I came up with this idea, it was real critical that the piece that fit over the rip fence was cut to the exact same width as the rip fence. Well, the way I do it now is I take my board that stands up, I take a board that is the width of the rip fence plus at least 3/4 of an inch. That's because I'm using 3/4 inch stock. Then I take another piece that fits here, and it all comes together in a sandwich. So let me put it together and I'll show you what I mean. The first thing I do is I measure the height for this board. And I just draw a line, turn it around, and I know that my screws have to go beneath this line. So I'll just drill a couple holes. And they're going to go into that piece of 3/4 inch plywood that's sitting on top of the rip fence. And that doesn't have to be real critical. We're just going to put some screws in it. I should have countersunk them, but I haven't. I'll have to go back and countersink them. But I just wanted to show you how this works. There. Now we have the front piece and the piece on top of the rip fence, and all we do is take this piece that we just added on to the side, push those two together, hold a little pressure on them, put a couple screws in it. And there we have a sliding jig. Fits nice and snug. There's no side-to-side play. Take it off. When you put it back on, it fits right over and it's nice and snug. Now you can put the pieces on here, a couple pieces at 90 degrees that form a 90-degree triangle, and you'll have your jig to cut splines in a window, in a frame, or in a box. Or you can add a piece on here at 90 degrees to the bottom, and you can use that on here to cut tenons, or if you're making raised panel doors and you want to make the raised panel on your table saw, you can hold your piece here, put a clamp on this to hold it in place, or a C-clamp, and it's a nice safe way of running that board over the table saw. So that's my answer to an easy to build jig that fits over snugly over the rip fence of the table saw. I forgot to mention the pieces that I used on this jig. This face piece is about 12 3/4 by 7 3/4, and it's 3/4 inch plywood. This piece that I used on top of the rip fence is 12 inches long by 2 7/8, and it's also 3/4 inch plywood. And the piece that goes down on the side is 12 inches long, and in the case of my rip fence, it is 2 5/8. And like I said before, the measurements on this and the measurements on this aren't that awful critical, because this is going to sit right down on your rip fence. This is going to hold the two pieces together. So there it is, a simple way to build a jig for your table saw, and it's very accurate. There's no play in it. I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to my channel. If you have any comments, please leave them. I try and answer all the comments that people leave. If you want to email me, my email address is right here. It's paulsmessyworkshop@gmail.com. And again, I welcome your comments. And thanks for watching my video.